Get over to the live stream to start it. It's Clash of the Pencils.
Turn on the stream tonight. Short stories in the spotlight. Writers bring their best to light. The Story Central Time. Breaking down the plot. Characters that fought. Twist and hit the spot. It's all you live tonight. Are you ready for some stories? In a live stream glory. It's the contest of the year. Writers have no fear. Catch the suspense unfold. Feel the tales being told. Critiques fair and bold. The truth will soon be known. Dollars from far and wide. Mysteries you can't hide. Every twist takes the story right. By these rules we abide. Are you ready for some stories? In a live stream glory. It's the contest of the year. Writers have no fear. Breaking down the plot.
You're right. Welcome to Clash of the Pencils, the only full contact creative writing esport league in the history of esport leagues themselves. My name is Tom Sherman. I'm joined as always by Greg the Reader Peterson. We're here to analyze the plot, character, and setting of the top short stories of the day. So, if you're confused, so am I. This is what happens. Each day, authors from across the internet submit a handwritten one-page story based off of a prompt we reveal at the end of our live stream. Then, the public at large votes for their favorite story. We reveal the top 3 stories of the day, show them, reveal the winner, and then do it all over again. So, what does it take to get to the finals? That's a great question. There are 3 elements that triangulate to create a great story. That is the characters, the setting, and the plot. So the closer or larger, do we even have visuals? It doesn't really matter. Whatever. You want to use those 3 elements to create an visceral, and exciting story. So bearing that in mind, Greg, what is our prompt today, and where do our authors need to go to fulfill it?
Hey Tom, the prompt today is we're in first person perspective and we get a story starter. So the opening sentence has to be, as the large green dragon approached me. So there is an imminent threat. It's obviously a scenario in which there's a character. We don't know if it's the antagonist. It might be the antagonist. It's a large green dragon that is fast approaching. What are you going to do? Where you go from there? It is sort of carte blanche for the authors to run wild wherever across some sort of imaginative canvas. Anyway, back to you.
Back. We're back, baby. All right. So I don't have anything to say. I don't know why you threw it back to me. Let's just keep it rolling and go on to the first story of the day.
As the large green dragon approached me, I was extremely terrified, but I had to be brave because I needed his help to find the lost crystal of magical power. His enormous scales were glowing, and he was 455 feet long, and he had sharp teeth that could slice through diamonds. "What do you want, tiny human?" said the dragon. I remembered my manners because dragons can be very dangerous if you don't follow proper etiquette. "I need help finding something, and if you want to know what happens next, you have to keep reading," I said. Then, out of nowhere, a gigantic storm appeared and lightning was everywhere. The dragon used his weather powers he got in Book 2 to make it stop, and I was very impressed. "I will help you, but first you must solve my riddle," said the dragon. "What has scales like me but no wings and lives in water?" he asked. "A fish," I yelled. Then the dragon smiled, and his teeth were glistening. "You are wise for a human who is only 9 3/4 years old," said the dragon. So we went on our quest, and we had to fight 12 evil wizards and an army of skeleton warriors, and the dragon used his mega fire blast attack. I used my special amulet that I got from my grandma, who was actually a powerful sorceress. Finally, after 7 days and 23 hours, we found the crystal in a cave that was 1,000 feet underground, and guarded by Bob the evil troll king, who turned out to be really nice when we shared our sandwiches with him. A year later, me and the dragon were best friends, and we went on lots more adventures and saved the world 5 more times. The end.
All right, so here we have a dragon approaches the narrator who decides to be brave, answers the dragon's questions with proper etiquette in order to befriend the dragon, who then helps the narrator go on multiple adventures, solve some riddles, fight evil wizards, and then befriend the evil troll king with a half a sandwich.
Yeah, what struck me about this was how much actually happened. In every paragraph was like another installment in like a 700-page fantasy world building series. We get right away, we get a great description of the dragon. The enormous scales were glowing, 455 feet long, sharp teeth that could slice through diamonds. So obviously this is a huge opponent that you don't want to mess with, right, Tom? He
Mhm.
starts out, what do you want, tiny human? Um, I remembered my manners because dragons can be very dangerous if you don't follow proper etiquette. They are sticklers for signing off sincerely. Uh,
Mhm.
so with that in mind, that it becomes not a foe but a friend. After solving the riddle, proving even though he's 9 3/4 years old, that he has what it takes to team up. What struck me the most about this was how many numbers there were. 455 feet long. The dragon used his weather powers he got in book 2. The actual character is 9 3/4 years old. We went on our first quest. We had to fight 12 evil wizards. Finally, after 7 days and 23 hours, we found the crystal in a cave that was 1,000 feet underground, guarded by Bob. And then they saved the world 5 more times. And so I think a lot in one page, we get this incredible compression through all these numbers. That was really interesting. What struck you as interesting here?
Yeah, there is a lot, and I hadn't even thought about all the numbers until you just pointed it out there. There's a lot going on there. Um, I mean, yeah, I was just trying to keep up. Honestly, it was like you said, it was jam packed. Every sentence, it seemed like skipped 12 chapters. And so I'm like, all right, I'm just trying to keep up, trying to keep up. I will say there was only one thing that I really didn't like in the story, and that was when the dragon asks the narrator, what do you want, tiny human? And they say, I need help finding something, and if you want to know what happens next, you have to keep reading. Like, look, I get it. I get it. You want me to keep reading. You want this, like, but at the same time, like, it's that sort of thing that makes me want to stop reading. Okay, like, just tell me what it is, or don't. I don't care. Don't put this on me. Don't make this like something I have to do.
It broke the fourth wall. It was too destructive, right? Just the direct
Yeah.
call, like, dear reader, like.
Exactly. Exactly, exactly. It's like I'm in this fantasy world with a dragon, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but also you're reading a book. And it's like, oh, yeah,
One thing,
okay.
one thing I liked was they disarmed at the end the evil troll king, who also, like the dragon, turned out to be very nice. But you had to share a sandwich. I have some. It was 1,000 feet underwater, Tom. What sandwich is not going to get super soggy? How do you share? What are the mechanics of sharing at that pressure and depth?
That's that's a fair point, and that's probably why Bob the Troll King hadn't had a sandwich in so long and was so angry.
Yeah.
I mean,
He turned out to be really nice, though. And then there's 5 more times. I feel like this demands either a sequel or some slowing down, giving us more of a scene. It felt like, I don't know, something that's been watching TikTok for their entire developmental. It was accelerating. It was just maximum dopamine in one page.
yeah, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, all over the map. But you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it any day of the week. So, great start of the day here from, and that was KidVenture, name of the author there. So great start there from KidVenture and the Dragon's Riddle and the Crystal Quest. Good golly. All right, so here's on to our second story of the day called Tea with a scholarly dragon, and that is by Geek Explorer.
As the large green dragon approached me, I was particularly frightened because dragons are carnivorous, which means meat eating, like we learned in science class. His enormous scales were glistening in the sunlight, and I remembered how Mrs. Thompson taught us about adjectives to make our writing more sophisticated and professional. "What brings you to my lair?" the dragon inquired. "I learned that word from our vocabulary list, and it means to ask something." His voice was extremely thunderous, and I could see all of his peculiarly sharp teeth. First, I had to be polite, because that's what we're supposed to do when meeting someone new, even if they're a dragon. "Good afternoon, sir," I said, using my best grammar and pronunciation. "I am journeying through your territory to make my way home to my mom and dad." The dragon sat down and pulled out a pair of glasses, just like the ones my teacher wears when she reads our essays. "Well," he stated, which is better than saying said because it's more descriptive. "Perhaps you would like to join me for some afternoon tea?" I was thoroughly confused because I had learned that dragons were ferocious creatures from all my research in the library. But then I remembered how we shouldn't judge others without getting to know them first, like in our social studies unit about different cultures. Finally, I accepted his invitation, and we had a lovely tea party where he taught me about the photosynthesis process of the plants in his garden. It was quite an educational experience, particularly when he showed me his collection of ancient artifacts.
All right, so here we have a child obsessed with grammar and vocabulary, believe it or not, and I don't know. I really got lost. I got lost by all of the asides of like, hey, look
Besides,
at that word. I used it. I used that word so well. Like I
it,
didn't. The plot got lost on me. I'm
It,
sorry.
it was like Hermione Granger is just like not filtering anything. And she's just like, all the learning. And then like letting us know he's breaking the fourth wall, just every other sentence, every other sentence. It was fascinating. We get to see like a consciousness ruminating about kind of social etiquette when encountering a strange dragon and then sharing a love of photosynthesis and botany. Um, in terms of subverting expectations, I found the plot of this to be fairly, in some ways, so much less happened than the last story. But I found it to be more interesting because it wasn't expected. Everything that I saw in the last story, I kind of was like, okay, yeah, I get this. There's a kind of wham bam, extreme speed, boom and zoom sort of comic book style action. And here the plot was really just about getting to know each other and kind of sharing passions that the narrator is first compulsively sharing with the reader through these parenthetical sides about grammar and trying to use the best vocabulary and calling attention to the fact that it was he stated, which is better than saying said, which is more descriptive, which makes me think that this isn't like the author is aware that the reader is aware that this is fictional, right? And it's like it's making this weird meta commentary. In some ways, it's like when Beckett's Waiting for Godot characters stand and state their stage directions that they're supposed to, like they're drawing attention to the artificiality of these little words on the page. So maybe it's very postmodern and subversive. Or maybe it's a girl who just really wants mastery over the English language. Regardless, I do wonder whether this is a spy from Redbot Penbot. The compulsive grammarizing was I think we need to have some sort of test or put some sort of internal unit on whether there's a mole in our midst.
Yeah, that's a great call. And this might be a prime candidate for a little extra scrutiny. But yeah, what's interesting to me is in this story and the last one too, the emphasis on etiquette and politeness around dragons. There's a both authors have been very worried about angering the dragon by being impolite or rude in some way, which um I've actually never learned. I'd never learned that until today that dragons had such an emphasis on their manners, and I just always kind of assumed that they were curmudgeons and gardening their gold in ferocious, but you know, we're learning. We're learning a lot.
Yeah, that's such a social faux pas in the fantasy realms, huh? These are
I
these
know,
are
geez.
creatures. So we learn. What about social studies? When we learned about different cultures, Tom, this is dragon
Right.
culture.
Right. Well, and so that's the other thing is, yeah, whatever. Well, I don't know if it's like all my research said that dragon culture is ferocious, but this one's not. And now is that this a specific type of dragon within dragon culture that is a non-ferocious dragon, and the rest are ferocious, and the author just happened to come across a very nice dragon in their garden, or is this something where we've been misclassifying dragons the whole time, and you know, a classic sort of, you know, one mistranslated sentence from thousands of years ago turns into a whole litany of of wrong think about dragons.
The misconception. I'm glad these authors are exploring sort of imaginatively to try to maybe correct the historical record on these mythological creatures.
Me too. And there's one more author. Let's see if there's one more correction to be made, at least to my mind frame. And this third story is going to be coming from Elf Dreamer 42, and it is called Aurora and the Dreaming Dragon.
As the large green dragon approached me, I held my sword tight in my trembling hand. The dragon opened its massive mouth and flames shot out toward me. Uh-oh, I exclaimed as my shield flew out of my hand and straight into the beast's mouth. Aurora gripped her sword tightly, her hand turning pink from the strain. She tucked her salt and pepper hair behind her pointed elf ears as the dragon approached. The creature flashed her a menacing grin and spread its wings. As it lunged toward her, Aurora raised her shield to protect her pale face. The dragon unleashed a blast of red flames, and the elf's blue eyes watered from the intense heat. "A little help?" Aurora called out in her squeaky voice. "On it," said a voice from the tree behind her. The tree elf leaped onto the dragon's back and plunged her sword between its scales. The dragon's eyes rolled back, showing only whites as it let out a low moan. "I didn't mean to kill the dragon," Aurora cried out. "Sorry. Don't let your guard down. The fairies, nymphs, and pixies are coming," the tree elf warned. Her gray eyes, which gave her her name, twinkled in the light. "Be quiet or they'll hear us," Aurora whispered, pressing her finger to her lips. "I don't see the point of this." But before Gray could finish, the fairies appeared. They glowed brightly and wielded tiny nunchucks in their three-fingered hands. "Attack," the tallest fairy commanded. "Long fade out." "Ouch," Aurora exclaimed, feeling a sharp sting on her cheek. "Sorry, Aurora. You were sleeping during class again," said a familiar voice. Aurora looked down at her hands. They were no longer elegant and curved like in her dream. "Thanks for waking me up," Aurora said sleepily. "No problem," said her friend. The end.
All right. So a large green dragon approaches the narrator, who turns out to be Aurora, who is fighting the dragon with the help of a friendly tree elf. After slaying the dragon accidentally, Aurora seems to feel a bit of remorse. The elf says, "Hey, no time for that. The fairies, nymphs, and pixies are coming. So yeah, don't want to deal with a band of angry fairies, nymphs, and pixies." So uh, the fairies come, they start attacking, and then Aurora gets a sharp sting on her cheek. Turns out she was asleep in class the whole time, and her friend is waking her up.
By the way, did her friend just slap her?
She did something, something. Yeah, a
Wow, that's
pinch,
a
a
tough.
slap, a poke.
Yeah, that's a tough wake up. We get the classic ending where it was all a dream. Before there, though, we didn't. This wasn't about making the dragons happy or through etiquette or
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
proper greetings. This was let's kill the dragon. This is more of what I was
mm-mm.
expecting.
Yeah.
And this author I think had some of the most, if not the most, visceral descriptions of using color. It really was interesting to see how color functioned throughout this. I'm going to read just the litany of these. We've got Aurora gripped her sword tightly, her hand turning pink from the strain. That's like professional level authorship right there. We get the dragon unleashed a blast of red flames, and the elf's blue eyes watered from the intense heat. Then after that, when the dragon dies, his eyes rolled back, showing only whites as it let out a low moan. This is show versus tell 101. Incredible stuff here. Her gray eyes, which gave her her name, twinkled in the light, which it turns out that is Gray, who is the helper. And then we get the, what were they? The nunchucks in their three-fingered hands. The fairies.
The fairies with as fairies are known to have
Like,
nunchucks.
how do you get out of that other than it being a dream? In one page,
Whew. Aurora is pretty lucky that it was a dream, because it was not looking good, especially considering those were just the fairies. The nymphs and the pixies were still on their way.
Right.
So
Right. Like that's a tough task to
yeah,
oppose.
you're fighting back to back with Gray out of an enchanted forest. Not looking good.
Although you have just killed a dragon. Like you're not without any sort of skill here.
Right. Although she didn't mean to kill the dragon. You know what I mean? So it's like
Well,
kind of
maybe
like
if she meant to do something, maybe like she has unlimited power in that case.
It's possible. It's possible. One limiting factor on this story was the author switched from first person to third person.
Ooh.
And it starts out in the first paragraph, I was holding my sword tightly and trembling in my hand, and then after uh-oh, I exclaimed, my shield flew out of my hand straight into the beast's mouth. From then on out, there's no more I, it's all Aurora, it's all, she tucked her hair, so it's a if the author could have stuck in, you know what I mean? I know it's hard when you're used to writing in third person or writing in first person to switch it up, but if the author had been able to stick with it and like maybe write it in third person at first and then erase Aurora and write in I.
Yeah. That's really interesting. It's also interesting that she had, it was in one world, like the first person of it almost maybe was too scary. So we have the third person is more of a distancing effect. So it's more manageable. And then the dialogue really picks up when we're in third person. But then we're in the dream too. So it's like these two levels, almost like an inception level of like, all right. And then this was what's really happening. And then this was we pull back, into a safer reality, as it gets too intense.
Or as the author says, a long fade out.
Long fade out. All three of these stories had interesting asides or breaking the fourth wall, directly addressing the reader. All three of them were negotiating the boundary between the story world and the author-reader relationship in different ways. It was pretty dynamic. I don't know, would you?
And you actually touched on something too, where the first author was numbers, the second was grammar, this third one was the artistic streak with the colors.
Colors,
yeah. Those, interesting.
You want to make the top three, you got to have a bit,
Pick a bit and go with it. That's true. That is true.
Commit to those bits.
And speaking of bits, best bit of the night is top 5 sentences. We reveal the winner, and then other stuff happens. But I think we have to take a quick commercial break from our sponsor.
Edge of the runway where dreams ignite. Tom Cruise stares down into the endless night. Birds of flight school stuck to the plan. Grow together, fly high hand in hand. Tom Cruise finds himself in the cockpit seat. Heart pounding, fist clenched, he can't be beat. He learns from the birds how to soar so high. Wings of steel under a firelit sky. Birds of flight school grow with pride. Tom Cruise finding the hero inside. Together they rise into the unknown, learning the rhythm of the wind they flow.
Flight of bird school.
Got the blue chippers paying the bills around here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. If you're a flightless bird or a bird that doesn't know how to fly yet and you want to learn how to fly, go sign up for Tom Cruise's bird flight school, flight of school. Not John Travolta's not John Travolta's.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Not our
they
preferred.
pay us
Not
extra
the
to say
official
that, I don't know
sponsor of
why.
Clash of the Pencils.
All right, here we are. Our top 5 sentences of the night. Number 5. The dragon unleashed a blast of red flames, and the elf's blue eyes watered from the intense heat. Number 4. Then, out of nowhere, a gigantic storm appeared. Lightning was everywhere. The dragon used his weather powers he got in book 2 to make it stop, and I was very impressed. Number 3. The fairies appeared. They glowed brightly and wielded tiny nunchucks in their 3-fingered hands. Number 2, I was thoroughly confused because I had learned that dragons were ferocious creatures from all my research in the library, but then I remembered how we shouldn't judge others without getting to know them first, like in our social studies unit about different cultures.
There you go.
And the top sentence of the night. Finally, after 7 days and 23 hours, we found the crystal in a cave that was 1,000 feet underground and guarded by Bob, the evil troll king, who turned out to be really nice when we shared our sandwiches with him.
Naturally.
Classic. If I had a dime every time, I just needed to give a troll a sandwich. All
Soggy.
right, so
Soggy.
what's
Ah,
soggy old compressed sandwich. Who is our winner?
That was yours.
Oh,
That's
you-
what-
It's me to announce. I thought it was you to announce. That's fine. Our winner is GeekXplorer.
Key with a scholarly dragon. That Hermione Granger academic grammar description, nouns, adjectives. That's what the public wants, Tom. We're powerless.
That's what they wanted. They wanted good vocabulary. They wanted tight grammar. They wanted breaking that fourth wall so many times that we didn't even have a wall. It was a window. Fourth window.
Fourth window. Just break it. Just shatter it.
Done.
Anyway, we've got
All
the
right.
next prompt. Next Tuesday. Are you ready? You are going to write a story about a sports competition. That's it. Figure out a one-page story, sports, some sort of competition. Have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Infinite possibilities here.
Wow. So wide open here. Wide open as far as plot, setting, characters. I mean, as long as they're in a sport competition. Wow. And think about this. Think about this, Greg. If our writers like to be super meta, Clash of the Pencils is a sports competition.
Oh, wow.
So you could be writing a story about Clash of the Pencils in Clash of the Pencils that we then watch on Clash of the Pencils and discuss and dissect on Clash of the, I mean, if you want to break my brain.
Yeah. I don't know if Storyflix can handle that. And don't tell that to GeekXplorer. She'll run wild with it.
Perfect. Well, hopefully she's not watching. Hopefully everyone else is. So that's about it, right? Anything else do we need to do?
No, just
sign
do the
off.
sign off.
Do the sign off every time. All right. So until next Tuesday, keep those pencils sharp.
And kids, don't let your creativity get captured.
Turn on the stream tonight, short stories in the spotlight. Writers bring their best to light. The story central time. Breaking down the plot, characters that fought, twists that hit the spot. It's all you live tonight. Are you ready for some stories in a live stream glory? It's the contest of the year. Writers have no fear. Catch the suspense unfold. Feel the tales being told. Critiques fair and bold. The truth will soon be known. Jawless from far and wide. Mysteries you can't hide. Every twist takes the story right. By these rules we abide. Are you ready for some stories?